Phew, we've learned a lot of notes already. The whole really low register plus a full octave chromatic scale from F to F. Now, at the end of that last section with the whisper key, we ran out of fingers to lift. So what we've done is we've gotten to the break, which is at fourth line F. Fourth line F is where we've got our whisper key down and no fingers on the front. This is fourth line in the bass clef. So from there, it's kind of like crossing the break on the clarinet. On the clarinet, when we go from pinch B flat up to the upper register B natural, we have to put all those fingers down. And so from F natural to the next note, which is F sharp, or often G, then we got to add a lot of fingers. So the good news is there's only 3 notes we need to worry about right now. Okay? And that's because they're using a special technique in order to go up that octave. On the clarinet, we have a register key. On the bassoon, in this case, for these notes, we're using a half hole. And there's no half hole sort of place for your finger to go like there is on the oboe. Here we have to create the half hole just by placing our index finger in the correct place. So I want you to think about that index finger for just a second. And in order to use the correct half hole technique, we're going to need to be able to wiggle it. Okay? So I'm going to lay my bassoon into my shoulder here for a moment. And what we're doing is we're going to learn how to rotate this finger this direction. Now, if you can lay down your bassoon or put it into your shoulder like I have, practice this with your left hand index finger. So I'm sort of making a shadow puppet with my top finger, or like scissors. I'm moving that index finger. Notice the action of my finger, and my fingers are fairly straight right now. Now I'm going to let them curve more naturally and try that same motion again. Okay, so now we're approaching what it feels like to roll onto that half hole, but I want to make it a little bit harder, so I'm going to bring in my thumb to touch these 2 fingers, and I'm going to try to continue rotating my index finger from the same knuckle right there. Okay, just the same one I was using when I did this motion here. Keep imagining that scissors. Finally, I can actually put my right hand across onto my shoulder or just across my chest, and I can practice right here as if I'm on my bassoon. And I'm going to try for that same rotation feeling, that same scissors joint. And you can see now it looks like a pretty good rotating index finger for going on to the half hole. Now, when we place our fingers on the bassoon, I'll give you a second if you set yours down. When you place this finger onto the bassoon, it's really important that we think of half hole as up and closed, rather than thinking of the half hole as rolling down away to open up the hole. We're going to actually think about closing the hole on most of our notes, and then when we get to a half hole, we let that finger relax and it opens up the hole. It's kind of difficult to see, but you get the idea. With a half hole, we're opening up a portion of our first tone hole. So I'm going to place my index finger, and what I actually want to do is, if I'm going to fully close it, I want that circle to be on the thumb side of my index finger pad. So if I put these 2 fingers together, I touch a little bit more over here on the thumb side of my index finger. And if I were to look at it, that's where I want the hole or the circle to be when I place my finger there. So half hole happens often enough that even though this is a little bit complicated, you need to know how to do it, and you want to make sure that you start explaining for your bassoon player right away how to play half hole. So I'm going to place my index finger a little bit below the hole so that it's open about halfway. I'm going to put my other fingers in position, and then I'm going to think about using that scissors motion in my joint to raise up a little bit. Until this becomes natural, this can create a little tension in the arm. So make sure that that elbow is out, up, so we have a pretty straight wrist. That'll take a little bit of the extra tension off your hand. And you can just practice that feeling of rolling on and off the half hole for just a minute. Now, like I said, there's only 3 notes to worry about, and you technically already know the fingerings. So think way back to our low F sharp fingering, okay? So low F sharp used whisper key, all the fingers here, all three, all the fingers here, and thumb. Now in this case, let's not think about the pinky. Most of the time on F sharp, we don't have our pinky down. So we're just going to think about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the F sharp key, which is down below your whisper pad. Make sure you're using the one below, the pancake key, the one below the pancake key right here. So with all 6 fingers there and the F sharp key, that's your fingering for high F sharp, or F sharp on the 4th line of the bass clef. However, what's the difference? What's that special technique we were just talking about? It's the half hole. So once you open up the hole, that's going to help the bassoon play up in the correct octave. Now, F sharp is actually opened a little bit more than halfway. So if you've got your finger placed below that hole, just let it totally relax and come away so that hole is a little bit open. If you were playing low again, you'd have to roll that finger totally back on, or any other note that needed the top hole fully sealed. We're rolling our finger on to play those notes, and we're relaxing the finger to come off and open for the half hole. These are still, this half hole technique works with the whisper key, so we need to make sure we keep that whisper key down for all 3 of these half hole notes. Okay, so let's get that fingering for F sharp. Don't worry too much about the half hole for a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, F sharp key down here, and the whisper key. Now, think about the half hole. Roll it off, keep it off, and then roll it on. Relax and let it off. Roll it on. What you're doing is practicing the difference between 2 octave versions of F sharp. Low F sharp with the hole fully covered, F sharp in the staff with the half hole, or actually slightly larger than half for this note. Okay, so you guessed it, G is going to work exactly the same. So you can just go ahead and cover that hole again, let the finger roll up, and lift that thumb. Lift that thumb off the F sharp, so you just have these 3 fingers down, and you got a G. That was our low G fingering. Now all you need to do is let the finger relax and open up the half hole. This is about halfway, although technically it's slightly more than half. F sharp is the most open half hole, G slightly less open, and then G sharp, which we're going to get to in a second, that's the least open, but they're all 3 considered half hole notes. So here we are on G. Half hole is for 4th space G in the bass clef. Fully covered tone hole, low G at the bottom of the staff on the bottom line. Half hole, G at the top of the staff, close the hole, G at the bottom. And just add a pinky to get our A flat or G sharp. So with this fingering and my top finger rolled up to cover the tone hole, I have a low G sharp or a low A flat. Then I just let that finger relax and open up the tone hole. Now here, this is less than half. So I'm going to just let a little bit off. And this is why we need some facility in this joint. So we have some control here for the half hole. Obviously, this takes time to develop and practice, but the education is important to understand. So my whisper key has been down this whole time, and I'm currently putting my fingers down for G sharp or A flat. Now, since you knew all these fingerings already, we mainly just learned about how to roll this finger for the half hole. One other thing to keep in mind, and one easy way to remember which 3 notes are half hole, is it's all the versions of G. You've got G flat, you've got G natural, and G sharp. So G flat, F sharp, that was the first one we did with the low F sharp key here with a half hole. And then G with a half hole. And then add the pinky for G sharp with a half hole. And that gives you the 3 tones right at the break of the bassoon. They come right after open F, where we have only the whisper key down with our left thumb. So open F, then we have to learn to put all the fingers down. If I were practicing with a new student, I would start with F, open, and then try G, because we don't have to worry about any extra pinky or the F sharp thumb key down here. So we're just going to add 3 fingers with a half hole here at the top. And that should be easy if I've been taught to place my finger below the hole. So I have open, F, all my fingers go down. That means without rolling up onto the hole, this top hole is a half hole right now. G, F, fingers down for G. F, G, and I leave that half hole open. So that's getting across the break for the bassoon. You can also practice F to F sharp, adding the thumb key, or F to G sharp, adding the pinky down here. But really, the best way to practice these half hole notes is to practice low octave G and then high octave G. And there's an exercise for this in the back of the manual, or of the workbook. So those would be your half hole fingerings in the middle of the staff. Practice those notes if you need some more help, or watch this video again. Okay, let's play those half hole notes. Remember, our whisper key is down for these 3 half holes. And we're going to start with F sharp. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and our F sharp thumb here right below the pancake key. Top index finger needs to be placed below the tone hole so that we have our open half hole. Here is high F sharp. Then we lift our right thumb, not that high, but so you can see. And now we have G. Technically, we now need to slightly obscure that half hole a little bit more. Not much, but just a little bit. We're still technically more than half open. High G. Now, I'm going to throw something at you here. Almost all the time, this low E flat key is added to your regular high G fingering, okay? So even though low G and high G have the same fingering, we basically always need to add this key right here. And this is because G is just brutally sharp without this extra pinky key. So when you practice G half hole, we need to add this left pinky key. It's technically our low E flat key, but whatever you need to do to think about adding that pinky key, the top of the 2, to half hole G. That's a really important additional finger. So try that with the regular G fingerings plus this key right here. We're still half hole. This is high G with the low E flat key. Say do and try again. It's important to use enough air. I know I just went pretty flat because I didn't have enough air when I started my sound. That second note, the one I just played, was a little bit higher. I used more air. Now I'm going to try my half hole G sharp or A flat. So remove that key. That's only, this left pinky is only for that half hole G, and add our G sharp or A flat key on the right hand and try high A flat. Half hole open. But now almost 1/3 only is still open. Just the top portion of it to help the note respond. So that's our 3 half whole fingerings. Don't forget about the low E flat key added to your regular G half whole.